sexual assaults on the NOPD to this very day. And so we see this rogue thing going on with law enforcement. Law enforcement has for many years been the law breakers. They don't enforce law, they break the law, they violate the law with their badges and with the authority that the law vests in them to undermine everybody's peace and security. And so when police are around, as black people, we're not safer. We're actually more in danger when they're present. When we encounter police officers, that is the least safe that we are. You understand? That's what you have to realize. And I can remember, I'm going to tell this story, that as a young man, a young black man in Orleans Parish, and I was in a place on the West Bank called Algiers, which is in the city of New Orleans. And as I was going down a boulevard called General de Gaulle, I was pulled over by two New Orleans police officers. Now, they had their walkie-talkies on as calls were coming through while they were questioning me about where I lived and, you know, just going through all of the degrading thing that they do, question you about where you're going, even though you're grown and you can go where you want to go, and looking at your license and so on and so forth. Well, in that whole interrogation, in the middle of that, there used to be a store, for those of you who are from New Orleans, called Canal Villery. Now, Canal Villery, there was a Canal Villery, and this was during the Christmas season. Over the radio, a person had grabbed a turkey and ran with the turkey from the back of the store out of the store with a turkey. Obviously, they were hungry because they just grabbed the turkey and ran out of the store, according to what was coming on the radio. Now, the radio was loud. I was able to hear exactly what happened. So now, as the officer is leaving me, he throws my license in the air, and I grab it. And he tells me, "This is your lucky day." Now, I want you to think about what that meant. In other words, he was leaving me. In other words, if a cop is around you, you should be lucky if somebody is there to protect you. But he understood that this is your lucky day, meaning I'm leaving you to go mess with someone else. I'm leaving you. Therefore, it's a fortunate thing that I'm leaving you, because he understood that he was not there operating in my best interest or in the best interest of the community. He understood that whenever I leave you alone, you are lucky. I want you to think about what that means. Now, when I met my wife, that was what? A lucky day for me, because we were coming together. When somebody says you're lucky when they're leaving you, they understand that they are not operating in your best interest, and that they are not operating in such a way that it will be beneficial to you. Now, many police departments have areas where they have torture chambers, places where they bring people to torture them, places where they literally strip search women, and they make these women open up their labia majora, their labia minora, right? And we talking about men with flashlights supposedly looking for contraband in the crevices of the bodies of our women. They did this in Baton Rouge, okay? These are the kinds of sick freaks that wear these badges, okay? Now, in the city of Baton Rouge, Murphy Paul has made a valiant effort to reform the police department. And we commend him on his attempt. But you cannot, as the Honorable Louis Farrakhan said, you cannot reform a racist mind. You can't reform it. You just have to move the racist mind and the people that have the racist mind out of the way, but you cannot reform or rehabilitate a white supremacist racist demon from the pit of hell. You can't offer them sensitivity training because they're never going to be sensitive to the hurt and pain of others. In fact, they love the fact that you're in pain. And you can see on some of these videos, you can go on YouTube, World Star Hip Hop. Social media has everything front street now to where you can go and see people laughing as somebody is dying, giggling, right? And we struggled as a people to get black officers on the police force, black people elected to office, because the thought was they're going to do something different. Now, feel free to call in if you wish and join in on the discussion. The number's on the screen. But I wanted to lay out here that we've struggled to get to a certain point and to put people in position. And a lot of times we don't get the bang for our buck. The people who get in position become very weak, or they get in position and they are only there for themselves. But I would say Police Chief Murphy Paul is one of the few black officials appointed by Mayor Sharon Broome that actually got in there and is actually trying to do some reform. He fired 14 officers, and 8 of them resigned while under investigation in lieu of termination. And it looks like officers are being charged, and there's an FBI investigation. So he's brought all of this into that department, that department would, the bad actors would be held accountable, okay? You got killers and murderers that are being given their jobs back when they go to the Civil Service Review Board for their appeal. No matter what they do, it's rubber stamped by those in the police union. Now, this problem with law enforcement, and it was the same way in the New Orleans area when I grew up. It was the same way with the NOPD, Jefferson Parish Sheriff Department, the Gretna Police. You're talking about some racist individuals who you cannot reform. You cannot reform. Matter of fact, there is a recent final call that dealt with the issue of these people being disagreeable to live with in peace. Basically laying out that there's no way that you can have peace if you live with certain people. They have never had peace with anybody, and they won't have peace today. You can't do it. Integration has not worked. Certainly hadn't worked for us with our men mass incarcerated. And now they're turning to the women to mass incarcerate them. The system does not work for us, all right? It doesn't work for us. They will put a few people in position who will advocate for the system because they are given certain creature comforts, right? And because they live in a 4,000 or 5,000 square foot house, maybe sitting on a couple of acres in a gated community, they will then come out and talk in the media like we can make this thing work, but you can't do it. We have literally wasted from 1965 up until now. You're looking at 58 years of wasted time trying to integrate and live up to the standard of a people that have already decided to abuse and reject us. Doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. And I've given this analogy before, that when I was coming up as a young man and we would meet a young lady, we would call that young lady 2 times. No matter how beautiful she was, we would call her how many times, I said? 2 times. If she did not call us back and show interest, we never talked to her again. We never called her again. Because in our mind, you got to show interest in me in order for me to show interest in you. So now how many times have we called on white people to give us justice? How many times have we called on them? We call on them each and every day, begging to be accepted. And we go to college and we write a nice resume in hopes that some white corporate person will accept that resume and give us a living wage. I mean, that's literally what we prepare to do all of our lives, particularly the middle class, educated black folks, is to be accepted by white folks. Now, brother became the police chief and was called the N-word. And we're going to run the footage where you're going to be able to hear the fact that the chief of police was treated just like any of us, and in many cases worse, was followed by his own officers to try to catch him to get a DUI on him, okay? Called the N-word because he tried to make reform, and the other former chiefs of police that were white were all involved in it, all right? So he kind of let things go at the Metro Council meeting because they're dealing with the Brave Cave and this facility where they literally bring people there and sodomize them. Now, imagine this, okay, and you had this in Texas, where there was a man looking into the vaginas of women looking for supposed contraband on the side of the road without any gloves on. Just imagine that, man. I mean, bruh, I got to go that day, you know, and I'm cool with dying. I'm straight with it. I mean, so, but it's just, it can't go down like that. The point is that here they are doing this kind of thing to our women. You look at what happened to Sandra Bland, where she gets in an argument with a cop who's racially profiling her in Texas, and then she winds up dead, supposedly hung in a jail right near Prairie View, Texas. Now, us defending our women is enough. That should be enough right there for us as a people to try to come together. That should be enough right there for us to hold everybody accountable, because if you will not protect your woman, you are not yet a man. I don't care how much money you make. If you don't have enough integrity to be willing to die to protect your woman, and if your woman, her anal cavity, her vaginal cavity, that any racist redneck with a badge can say, I want to look in there and see what I can see. Anytime they get ready, that means you have not progressed. That's what they were able to do in slavery, to open up your woman to themselves anytime they got ready, and you couldn't do anything about it. Shut up, nigga. But see, we live in a different day, supposedly. But we got to hold everybody accountable. I want to commend Police Chief Murphy Paul, who is one of the few. He's a rare breed that is aggressively going after these bad actors, taking the heat, okay? And I want to mention that the previous mayor, what's the dude? I almost forgot his name. The mayor, he was in there for 3 terms. Huh? Oh, Lord have mercy. My frat brother. The Uncle Tom dude who always sided with police. Lord have mercy. Come on. We forgot it. I mean, look, the man sided, he was in there for 3 terms. He was the previous mayor. Kip Holden. Kip Holden sided with the police. Every time the police union didn't like being held accountable, this man fired that police chief. Got rid of him every time. They got rid of the first black one, LaDuff. Pressure from the union. They got rid of Chief Dwayne White, and then they put Dabney in, and Dabney was the one who refused, and I mean refused. Let me grab this right quick. Hold on just a second, caller. You're on there? Yeah, Dabney was the one who suspended a black officer who shot a Rottweiler, but did not discipline Salamone, who brutally murdered Alton Sterling. So he put a dog's life ahead of the life of an actual human. And that was the police chief that the Baton Rouge Police Union was satisfied with. A demon that valued dog life over the life of Alton Sterling. And we ran that over and over again. Go ahead, caller. You on the air with the Community Defender.
Yes, indeed. Another powerful show, Brother Jara, and just the idea of realizing what these demons was doing is just unthinkable. Also, we had, Chief Glover, who was here in Lafayette, was trying to do the right thing. He had a list of about 30-something rogue cops, and he was planning on getting rid of them, but then they got rid of him before. But, I mean, what is it that we can do? What can we do when you have these hypocrites with a badge doing that to anybody, particularly black women? What can we actually do?
Well, the thing I would say, and the Honorable Louis Farrakhan has talked about that, there has to be a penalty exacted upon those who would do that. Now, we know there's a law and there are things that are against the code of law in America and in the state of Louisiana. But there's a higher law from God that says that you got to defend your woman. You do not accept under any circumstances, because a lot of things happen as black people because we allow it. The reason that Joe Biden is able to not deliver any policy and still get our vote is because we allow it. Whenever we come together and decide it ain't going down, then it ain't going down. And rather than shooting one another on Friday and Saturday night in New Orleans and in Baton Rouge and in Shreveport, we may want to do something different. You understand? I mean, if you're going to do life for the right reason. And when somebody does something like that, you got to investigate that, find out who they are, find out and do some surveillance, and find out what's going on so that you can exact the kind of penalty that needs to be exacted for that kind of thing. You gotta, in other words, white folk have a database of black activists. You understand? Like the sister who we opened up with, Tamika Mallory. There's a whole dossier that they keep on her. There's a dossier that they keep on Al Sharpton. There's a whole dossier that they keep of where they go and who they talk to. It's time that we as black people keep dossiers on these people and put pressure on these people. And wherever these people are, they see us. You see, and until they have the fear that they put in us, it's not going to change. You got to be willing to fight with those who fight with you. If somebody does something like that, and that's sexual assault. That's sexual assault. So what should be the penalty for sexual assault? I mean, what's the penalty in Africa for sexual assault? They never go to jail, do they? They never go to jail. In Saudi Arabia, sexual assault, you got a week to live if you rape a woman. 1 week. And after that following Friday, after Jumu'ah, you are brought out there and that scimitar is put on your neck. You understand? And that's why rape is low, very low in those kind of countries. I'm just laying it out there. Go ahead, caller. You on there with the Community Defender.
Yes, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty well, sir. How about yourself?
I'm doing okay. I love when you take on these type of topics, because all I want from the police is just for them to obey the law. I feel that just like I have to obey the law and do what's right, I just want them to have to obey the law and do what's right. And I went to college for criminal justice. I had to learn about the criminal justice system in the courts, and I find out what you learn in the classroom is not actually happening out in the streets. Because the police is they pretty much a lot of them is out of control. A lot of them they have racist agendas, and a lot of them they need to have some type of accountability to them. So when you put out a topic like this and you talk about it, I love when you do it because the mainstream media is not doing it. The local media is not doing it. They portray police officers as something with what pretty much what they not. And then when you guys come out, put them like exactly what how a lot of them are and what's happening. Because white people, they don't have a clue what's going on in the streets with these police officers. They have no clue. They believe exactly what they are told and what they presented, especially by these politicians like Josh Guidry and I think this Attorney General Jeff Landry. Come on, they have these little commercials and they show them I'm for law enforcement and policing and stuff. So I mean, I just like I said, I love when you put on these type of topics, and you're doing a marvelous job at hosting the show and presenting these topics along with the people behind the scenes of community defending. And I just hope, I just want to tell y'all just keep up the good work, man.
Man, look, I appreciate you, man, and may God continue to bless you as well as your family.
Thanks.
And our families do need to be blessed, and we do need the protection of God in this day and in this time. But I think that you got to defend. There's always a higher law, and there is the issue of self-defense in these kinds of issues. So whenever you are going to whenever you face death or great bodily harm, right, you can use deadly force. And when you are about to be raped or sexually assaulted, that is great bodily harm. And I believe in my heart of hearts that anything you do to avoid that, anything you do in retribution of that is righteous, okay? And those that have to meet their maker as a result of violating innocent people, those kinds of folks, they just have to deal with it. But we as black men cannot tolerate it anymore. It's not something we should be rolling with at all. Now I'm gonna roll this clip of Police Chief Murphy Paul. We want to commend him. He's under attack, and as a black community, we got to get behind our brother. We got to see what he needs, what can we do, so on and so forth. And but let's back and appreciate a black man, one of the few that's actually trying to do the right thing. Let's go ahead and roll that footage.
This is Baton Rouge Chief of Police Murphy Paul above me. I want you to listen to what happened at the Baton Rouge Metro Council meeting when we were addressing the Brave Cave, where I told you some Baton Rouge police officers were taking some people into this warehouse, strip searching them illegally. The Baton Rouge Chief of Police has been dealing with it, and we, the citizens, want him to be the person to deal with it. White council members asked this man to resign this week. You hear some chat in the background, but I want you to listen to this video because to me, this is what we as black people should get from black leaders in law enforcement. He's fired 14 cops. He has had 8 cops resign in lieu of termination. And the reason that these people don't like what he said is because he exposed why some cops have gotten their job back, why some cops have been put back into positions after he tried to get rid of them because they fired his damn lawyers. They won't even pay his damn lawyers. Watch this.
Is what I'm trying to say. Mr. Chambers, I apologize if it came off.
Mo.
Yes, sir. I want this matter resolved, and I want the place shut down, and I want everything. I know it's been shut down. I want it gone. And I want all of this resolved. But we can't accept the fact of where everything, the buck starts and stops.
So let's talk bucks. I've been quiet for 4 days. I haven't been here 7 years. I'm sorry, Mayor President, but I'm going to speak my heart on this one. Because let's talk about processes. Let me count. 14 police officers were terminated. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 resigned under investigation. And then there's appeals. And you know what you do? You strip my funding. Are you going to pay the attorney all the money that I already owe them for the bad cops that the Civil Service Board, where we're going to be here tomorrow, and none of y'all going to be here. And y'all sitting here trying to deal off these people's emotions, and some of y'all the problem. Jen Rocker, you sit there, defund the police department's budget from a legal standpoint, and then come here because I don't have legal representation and I got to play lawyer to fight these bad actors. Let's talk facts. Let's talk facts. And then what you do, then you go and you appoint people to the Civil Service Board that have direct ties to the union. There are 5 people on the Civil Service Board. What's wrong with good law-abiding citizens? You putting people on the Civil Service Board with direct to the ties to the union and wonder why they reverse the decisions that I make. I've been quiet, but I'm not going to be quiet no more. Where were you when they called my kids gangbangers? Where were you? You know about the pictures when they called my black boys gangbangers, and I prayed for them. When the former chiefs of police sit down and share pictures of me and my girlfriend, and I prayed for them. Where were you, Mocha? When they went to Texas, to the camp, and called me a nigger because I was trying to bring reform in this police department. Where were you then, speaking up for them? Don't sit here and play like you don't know about this group of body that's trying to force the mayor to sit there and fire me for lies and say I only discipline white folks, which is a lie. Don't pretend like you don't know that. Don't pretend like you don't know that. Talk about my little black kids, and I prayed for y'all. I prayed for them. And you sit here like you different, like you not in cahoots. Because I'm going to tell you what they said. They got 6 of y'all in their pocket. Facts. 6 of y'all in their pocket. That's what the union said. The same union tomorrow, when we have a hearing right here before this body, where I said that the search and seizures were improper and illegal. How many of y'all going to be here tomorrow? When the attorneys fight and say I should not have disciplined that office. I've been quiet for 5.5 years. But after November the 8th, I'm not going to be quiet no more. I've been praying for y'all. You think I don't know about the backdoor meetings y'all have with these people, and you sit here like you some... Come on now.
Thank you, Chief. Chief, got a couple of questions for you.
My black boys. You know how it feels for a black man to have little black kids that I have to have conversations with about law enforcement, and they're sharing pictures, calling my kids gangbangers? The same people you have these backdoor meetings? Do you know how that feels?
Stop this time.
Do you know how it feels to have police officers telling other officers, tell me when you see the chief out there, so we can come in case he's drinking, so they can pull me over? The same people y'all have these backdoor meetings with. Let's have these conversations today. And I pray for y'all. And even in my retirement, when you know I'm leaving and there's going to be accountability, you still doing what you do. Shame on you. When you go home and you think about your children, I love my black boys the same way you love theirs. Yours.
That is what I want from a black chief of police. Somebody who's willing to do the job, somebody who's willing to hold people accountable and tell the damn truth. Now, let me be clear. Chief Paul and I have had our share of disagreements. He is the police, but he's a good cop, and good cops hold bad cops accountable.
Of course, there you have it. I believe that the chief of police in the city of Baton Rouge basically lambasted those racist hypocrites and laid the whole thing out there in a few words. Now, let's look at that. He was being targeted by his own officers in an effort to see if they could get him on a DUI if he went to a restaurant or somewhere and had a drink. Now, of course, I don't drink, but drinking is legal. Now, the thing about it is that they went and tried to catch him on something so that they could have a pretext to eliminate him. Now, unlike the previous mayor, who buck jumped and buck danced for the police union and was afraid of the police union as a black man, and this, of course, is my frat brother, I love you, but you was Uncle Tom. You was sellout. You was sorry. You was sad. You was sick. You were infected with the disease of white supremacy and black inferiority. But now we have somebody a little stronger, right? Sharon Weston Broome, who stood by her police chief even as people were lying on him. And I appreciate the fact that he stood up for himself and stood up for us and spoke the truth. When you listen to everything, they were calling him the same N-word that they call us. And so the question becomes, if he couldn't get justice, if he couldn't get treated correctly, and he was over the police, what chance do you and I have if we're riding down the road and we're subject to these kind of officers who will look all in your body cavities, beat you up, murder you, all this kind of stuff? And he got rid of those liars, all right? He got rid of those doggone liars. And we want to commend him for doing that. That was all the way off the chain. That was one of the best performances at the Metro Council that I have ever seen. Murphy Paul deserves our love and our respect down there in Baton Rouge, because what's happening there is happening everywhere. And we got a black man that is standing up in their face and exposing their ass. Exposing them. Go ahead, Carl, you're on the community defender.
Yeah, Brother Dale, what you just showed just a few minutes ago, man, has not been shown on the local news or cable news or any other news that I can watch. I have 129 channels that I can watch.
And you ain't found that on them, bro.
That's right. I haven't found that, man.
Boy, you killing me, man.
They're wrong for that, man.
Bro, that's the reason why we do what we do at the Community Defender. That's the reason why I advocate all the time for this Final Call newspaper, because you're not going to get the real from mainstream. That is the reason why we bring it, like we bring it. And we want to give also a shout out to Gary Chambers, who made that particular video, mixed it up a little bit, and he put it on his page, and it's going viral. We want to definitely commend him for his activism and so on and so forth, and all of the good that he has done as well. All right. So it is what it is. And that's to let us know that this thing called liberation is going to be a team effort. We all are going to have to work as a team, as a unit, as brother and sister together as black people to get this thing done.
Well, thank you for showing that, man. And all I gotta say is about these media companies and these local news and cable, they wrong, man. They wrong for that, man.
and you know that was news we needed to hear. Real talk. Thank you, my brother. Brother say he ain't never. He say what he say he got 129 channels, and he never ever saw that one. Now I want to mention an article. I'm just going to read something from the current edition of the Final Call. All right, from the current edition of the Final Call, and this is an article written in the current edition of the Final Call by a sister by the name of Nisa Islam Muhammad. And she says in this article, and the title of the article is "Profiting Off Crime on Every Level. The exploitation of incarcerated people and their families generates $80 billion for private corporations." She goes on to write, "Crime pays, especially if you are a for-profit contractor providing services at correctional institutions. From medical and mental health care to pharmaceutical services to transportation to food services and communication services. These services cost the incarcerated a pretty penny. Imagine working for $1.25 an hour or receiving only $20 a month for full-time work. Adding insult to injury are the high costs people locked up behind bars pay for essentials. Now, it goes on to say, now this incarceration, this law enforcement thing, this pipeline from school to prison, this is real. And these racist officers are in fact a part of it. Now, most of these officers who are out there doing what they do, they are very dumb people with low IQs, okay? They're some of the dumbest folks who really couldn't work anywhere if they didn't work for law enforcement, because it just requires that you sit there. A lot of times it's not an intellectual pursuit. A lot of these little backwood departments are. It's not that much intelligence that goes on, which is why real investigations a lot of times don't occur, because why? You don't have intelligent people working these murder cases, working these rape cases, and that's why a lot of stuff falls through the crack, and that's why a lot of innocent people end up going to jail for crimes that they did not commit. Because there are a lot of innocent people framed by these racist officers, framed by these racist prosecutors, framed by these racist judges, and then railroaded. We have a lot of that at Angola right now. We have a lot of that at Dixon and at Hunt and all over the state of Louisiana. Now it says right here, Joseph Keller was arrested when he was 14 years old. From that time until he was 29, he was in and out of correctional facilities in the D.C. area. He told the Final Call, I didn't have anybody to take care of me. I received monthly what they call the food stamp bag, where if you didn't have any money, they'd give you envelopes, right? Peanut butter, crackers, a pencil, an ink pen, some deodorant, and some toothpaste. When I got a job working as a barber, I could put money on my books. So I was able to buy good deodorant and that didn't burn my underarms. The free deodorant burns. I got paid $19 a month. So what they do is regular stuff, they jack the prices up. They will charge you $60 for some $5 shoes. They would charge you 50 cents a minute to make a phone call that normally would be free. And they do this because you're kind of a captive audience, right? You're there, you're isolated from people, and they misuse you economically, and here you are making $20 a month. And this kind of exploitation, you're talking about $80 billion a year to these private companies. So that's why it takes unity for us as a people to tackle this issue of mass incarceration and police corruption. But at the end of the day, brother and sister, we got to love one another and be willing to come together and be willing to stand behind people who do the right thing, right? And that is why we mention with honor and with respect people like Marcus Garvey, people like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. We mention people who work in the struggle to elevate our people. And go ahead, caller, you on the air with the Community Defender.
Yes, good evening, Brother Darrell. Very, very good, interesting show that you're having today. You know, they did that to a chief here that didn't want to betray the badge. They got rid of him, you know. But the thing of it is, we have black people, you know, that's sitting on the council that's trying to get their colleague drunk to go along with what he's doing far as messing over the black folks that put him in office. He's trying to get back in office now, you know, and claiming what he did, but he's not telling the truth in what he did. And I call people like that a Negro with a white man mouth, you know. And when you're going to do things like that and try to get back in office, to finish the job that you didn't do the first time, shame on us. You know, we got election season going on right now, and they got people trying to get in office not to help us as black folks, but to help hinder us as black folks. You know, so we got to understand some of these things, you know, and when you're going to have another black man going to try to get a black colleague drunk to make him do the things that you want done, that ain't nothing but a Negro with a white man mouth. Thank you, Brother Darrell, for giving me this opportunity.
Yes, sir. You make it a great day, brother, and God bless you, and you and your entire family. We definitely need the protection of God in this day and in this time. I wanted to mention also one more article from the Final Call, because you know I do mention the Final Call all the time as Black America's premier publication. Did y'all hear what I said? Black America's premier publication. And I wanted to mention this article, and it deals with, and we never got a chance to get into it, with that attack in Florida at a dollar store where a racist white man came in and shot and killed 3 black folks because he just wanted to hunt black folks, all right? So I want you to listen to the words of this article, and you let me know whether or not you feel as though the Final Call is the premier publication or not. And it says, latest racist attack on blacks is further proof we must separate and be saved. Now, this is what the article says. It says, Black America added yet another deadly racist attack to the growing tally when recently a 21-year-old white man used an assault-style rifle to kill 3 black people at a Jacksonville, Florida dollar store. Incidents such as these are a stark and brutal reminder of the supermarket shooting in Buffalo, New York, where a white man slaughtered 10 black people in a mass shooting. The Charleston, South Carolina mass shooting where a white man targeted a black church, killing 9 worshipers and more. The growing number of deadly attacks leaves no room for doubt that white people are disagreeable to live with in peace, and that black people must establish independence in order to survive. Now, that's how the article in this Final Call newspaper opens up. It lays out, even in that article, it calls to question, letting you know that these things are not isolated incidents. We are always being hunted. Now, there are some white Jews who have been able to get the Biden administration to have a whole fight against what we call anti-Semitism. But anti-blackitism is a bigger problem. And the idea that anti-Semitism, or what is called anti-Semitism, would take precedent over the anti-blackitism that we always deal with is beyond me. All right? That is a major problem. And black leaders are asking black folks to support Joe Biden again, who did not deliver any policy initiatives. He did not deliver any policy. And yet these people are on social media, on the news, trying to get black people to vote for the man who wrote the crime bill, to vote for the man who put in the legislation that you could not discharge student loan debt. The reason that we are in this fight against student loan debt and mass incarceration is Joe Biden. Joe Biden is the reason behind the fact that you can't even discharge without a whole bunch of problems credit card debt. He's behind all of that. And when you look at Joe Biden, while he was running for office, he had to deny the efficacy of everything he's ever done. He had to admit that him voting for the war in Iraq was wrong. He had to admit that the crime bill was wrong. He had to admit that student loan debt and saddling people with student loan debt was wrong. He had to admit that saddling people with credit card debt and every major policy initiative that Joe Biden has ever made a decision on, he was wrong about it. So why in the hell would you vote for somebody who has never been right on policy in their damn life? What has Joe Biden been right about? Everything that he ever fought for, it turns out it wasn't good. So we're going to elect a person who makes all those bad decisions. And then you got our sister Kamala Harris, who said openly, and we're gonna run the video in the coming weeks, where she said she would never do anything specifically for black people. But the White House has an initiative against anti-Semitism, specifically for Jewish people. They have $110 billion that's been sent to the Ukraine, specifically for Ukrainians, right? Specifically for Asian, the anti-Asian hate bill. Everything they can do for specifically for certain groups, but nothing for us specifically. And that came out of the mouth of a black woman who graduated from Howard University. Okay? This is where we are. And we can never be free supporting this kind of weakness and betrayal against black. I don't care how much you are scared of Trump. Yeah, we survived 4 years of Trump. We survived 8 years of Reagan. Yeah, but we need a sense of dignity. The Democrats need to pay for not delivering on the policy agenda that they said. They need to pay at the polls. They don't need to be rewarded by us. They need to be punished by us, because those are the people that we supported, and those are the people that kicked us in the behind. The money that was supposed to go to the historically black universities, the $30 billion that was proposed, they've sent $110 billion of it to the Ukraine. And then they brought 100,000 white Ukrainians over here and gave them all housing. There's not one of the 100,000 Ukrainians that was brought over here that's homeless. But there's some homeless black people. Not one of them without something to eat, because they gave them all a food stamp card. But when a black man has, or a black woman has a food stamp card, all of a sudden we're the lazy N-words. But these white folks with no job and can't even speak the language are over here living in houses for free lights, free water, free food, free medical care, and they put their children in school. Right? So just like you took that 100,000 and gave them everything, let 100,000 people out of the federal prison who are in there for the crime bill that you wrote, and do them just like you did the Ukrainians. Put them in housing, make sure that they have education, job training. These people are doing all kind of job training. They in community college for free. You understand me? In community college, I am learning my English. How are you today? They are in school right now for free. Do you understand me? So now here we are looking at that situation, and and our leadership, it has punked all the way out. That's why the man behind me, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he's the divine voice of God. You can take it or let it alone. That's what he is. And that's the last man standing. The rest of them have punked out on you and left you for dead. And that is why I was so happy to see Murphy Paul put his foot in there behind at the Metro Council meeting. I was filled with so much joy when I saw that black man put his foot in there behind and lay it at their door and make them eat it. You understand? That they have to reap what they have sown. You understand? And so he laid that thing out there. So I want to thank everybody for tuning into the Community Defender. Please forgive your brother's passion. If I've said anything that offended anybody, then the truth is offensive. And there's nothing I can do about it. But if I did anything wrong, please forgive me. And we're going to continue to do this thing, and we're going to continue to heighten the level of discussion. We're going to talk about substantive issues. We're going to bring you the real deal. We're going to do a better job than ABC and CBS, because we're committed to you and committed to the truth and bringing you the real deal. May God bless you and keep you as your brother greets you in peace. Assalamu alaikum. Come back and see us again.